Hello, welcome back everyone. I hope you're all doing good. Just coming back with a new video on a setup that I don't usually use, but I figured I might as well give it a rattle today, just as a quick once over, just to fully figure it out. And probably, I think it's fair to say, one of, if not the strongest tourney legal setups, depending on the tourney. Obviously, there's other ones you could have clean rot on this. This is, of course, the Nobles Estoc. It's been pretty dominant in almost every single tournament that's been hosted over the last, 6 months? Pretty much. It's always been in either first or second place. I believe it's won more tournaments than any other setup currently. Used to be stronger back in the olden times when it had a crouch attack that was legitimately, I think, what was it, 8 frames? On the crouch attack, I think. Very, very dominant. It is probably one of the... It's just... Here's how it works. You have a combination of good range, excellent frame data in the sense that, you know, it's just quick, good recovery options, very fast attacks. You can cover an awful lot of ground. There's no messing around. You don't have to worry about the angle of the attack even. It's just a straightforward. The only time and the only real counterplay you have to worry about is the running attacks. They can be strafed. They can be... I'm not sure if they can be backstabbed. That's probably lot dependent. But you can definitely get some good pressure off them and they kind of force them to either roll out or force them into a trade. But they do have answers if you do go for a trade, which I'm not sure if it's this fight. I know we've seen it in the first fight. The R1, R2, kickflip, block cancelled R1. You have, like, it's pretty nuts. And you can even follow up with the run attack R1 as well. I believe in, depending on their roll timing, if they panic roll it, I think they can hit them. It is strong for those reasons. It has insane poise damage. It's for how fast the attack is and for how much damage it can actually do. I think the AR I can get off this if I get the Millicent's procced and the Sacred Blade buff up. I think it's like 700 AR. It's absolutely bonkers for something that's that fast. And, of course, the more popular option with the poison bug glitch, which is if you have a grease poison on your offhand, it increases the motion value. It's something I've seen. I can't remember the exact numbers. I think it's like 100 or something like that. That's nerd stuff. I don't care about nerd stuff. Who cares about nerd stuff? Let's just talk about what you really want to be doing with it. And you can see here, he's gotten me low. I've made a couple of blunders. I thought I had a few things spaced. I believe earlier in that match I had... made the audacity of expecting that I'd be pushed back by the hit stun. That didn't happen. That's a big brain move, but managed to clutch it through because he doesn't really have options. And I'm not going to get hit against something that's that reactable unless I want to be. And especially given that it's difficult to trade, even with good setups like straight swords, into thrusting sword. It's kind of bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. Have a little bit of tea. This is the fight I was on about. Yeah, it's this one. So speaking of funny options that you can do, you can call out Mash in a ridiculous way here. So he's going to go for that jump attack. I can space it out, try to pressure, force in that there. I'm trying to go for a trade, I think, because I want to test if it actually works. So yeah, he goes in here, he hits. Go for the R2. I was expecting that to land. That's silly. Go for those little tally swaps. Silly ender. And then we go for the trade. And then I go for the R2, kickflip into a crouch R1. And he's done. He ain't having it. He's not a happy boy. And he goes for that R1, and I expect him to stay playing and walk forward. He doesn't. He just puts down the controller. Destroys some drywall. Happens to the best of us. GG's, brother. Sorry, fella. Oof, that's rough. But yeah, it's obscene. And in certain matchups as well, you have so much versatility in the fact that you can't hit what you can't catch. And you can just kind of chill out of range. Any mistake you make on this is entirely your own. I'm fairly sure there's not a matchup that is incredibly bad. And I say incredibly bad. I think that, like, matchups are hard in this game because the player base is so small. But generally, as a rule, you're looking at something like, what would it be? Look at that, the kickflips, it's so stylish, I love it. In this game, like, close matchup is anywhere between, like, 45 and 55. That's, like, a close matchup. And I think Shamshir holds a candle to it there. We see I'm kind of cautious now of the spacing here. I was playing quite early in the morning, which for me is usually going to be NA West or Go for that kickflip and trade with that, and then I take a little bit more damage, and he tries to go for that bit of aggression at the end. And I can just crouch poke out of it. 10 frame attack, very honest, trust, nothing wrong with that. And if he tries to aggress into it, I can just press. And that's 90% of what you want to do. Patiently space just outside of their range, whiff punish, everything that they do. If they're playing rushdown, go for a crouching attack unless they're in hyper armor. Even then, against certain hyper armor setups, you can just very, very delicately just R1 on the roll, get that rolling R1 out, and you can usually interrupt 90% of their trash, but you lose some of your versatility. You see that there, that kickflip. I love it. It's just so stylish. It's one of those rare things where like a stylish thing in the game is like actually decent and then goes for the run attack. We're quite latent, as you can see by that absolutely obscene hitbox. Unfork bestie. Nothing either of us can do about that one, except maybe I shouldn't play it like 9 a.m. in the morning. That's probably a smart thing. But yeah, it's really, really strong. Fists apparently have a good matchup into it. Thrusting sword is just has flat matchups across the board, if not winning ones. Spears, of course, are held back in the overall swing of things because they have such a bad matchup into thrusting sword, and pretty much every build with those low stat requirements. When it was Rogue Gears, it was a little bit more fiddly to try and get it on the build, but now that Noble's Estoc is back in rotation again, it's kind of obscene what you can do. He goes for these run attacks here. I can just space out that. I'm giving him a little bit of leeway. I could be a little bit closer if I was more confident as to the lat. And I just whipped from Kilo. Tried to go for a trade there. I thought I'd be able to do it. Again, I'm trying to figure out what those, the R2, what I can actually get prio over on the R2. That's kind of what I'm doing today. Again, I'm not particularly comfy on the setup, which is still obscene that I'm able to just do as much damage as I am here. Tries to go for a kickflip on that roll there. Kickflip again. I think this one's a tie, if I recall correctly. You know, it's the Lionels that give him a super secret buff, and I just trade out there. We go for that, and I think I go for this, and I did not expect him to go for that press. I was to his back, which again, if you go on a read, you strafe around someone, you expect, oh, they're going to be worried about the backstab. No. An awful lot of the people in the arena either don't forget they exist, or are just going to press in your face, and that kind of like bit of pressure that you could put on that little mind game, you can sometimes get called out for it. So you have to be a little bit careful with that one. Again, 9 times out of 10, it's safer to press against a strafe, but we get the infamous, the famous salty run back. And Lionel's on Lionel's violence. You hate to see it, and we go for that for the Sacred Blade buff, which of course gives me just obscene AR, and then I just about whiffed that, but I realize I can just interrupt that. He jumps over. I can go for a little bit of a backswing there. I probably should have rolled out in hindsight, but it's early on in the match. I have a lot of health bar to run through, and I'm hungry for damage, and then he goes for that whiff himself. I was going to trade regardless of whether or not it hit, so I was content then to do that again. This is it has become Death Destroyer of anything that isn't A tier. If your setup isn't like in a high enough bracket, you are just, don't go. Even a bad thrusting sword will absolutely wreck it. It is the CS of this game. If anyone from Dark who played enough Dark Souls 3 will know that the curved sword in that game was a war crime to a certain degree. I love how towards the end people were just banning it because they were sick of seeing it. It was that strong. Yeah. This guy here, I'm doing another little bit of play around to try and figure out the lat again. I'm going to be playing some very, very risky things here, which I really shouldn't be by rights doing. He switches over the two-hand here, goes for that. I try and get the whiff punish. I'm not content. He goes for the follow-up, and I remembered. This was a bit of a... I remember thinking while doing that, it's like, could I jump that? Oh yeah, I can jump that, and I jump in again. Keep in that little bit of pressure. I jump over the top. Okay, I've done it once. I tried it again. Didn't work that time, and we can just press now with impunity. Their recovery is super low. My recovery is super high. Highly likely that they're out of stamina. I just figured, run the risk. Press to my heart's content. Worst case scenario, we get a trade, and it's a tie. That's my outlook on that one. But your thrusting sword is just, it's absolutely obscene what you can do, and I think I lose this one here, and I can't remember if this guy was light rolling or not. He looked like he was. It still has some things, and again, this just shows my pure inexperience with the setup. Like, I go in for that bit of pressure, get that interrupt. I expect him to run away. He's like, oh, I have a thrusting sword. He should know that he's in danger. Nope. He is going to press with impunity. Goes for that. I try to go for that rolling attack. I roll in. He doesn't really have any keep out options against me. If he goes for another press, basically at the end of the day, he just worst case scenario, I trade if I do it late. As you've seen there, my bleed is quite high. I'm not paying much attention to it, which will cost me. I roll in again. Try to get another extra little bit of damage. He goes for some fan daggers to keep up that pressure. He's always out of my distance, and I can't really do very much here. He goes for that, keeps Bloodhound stepping away again, super low recovery in and of itself, kind of negating some of the advantages that I have. If he times it incorrect, I can still catch him. It's not great, but you see there, those roll-ins are just not working out for me. Go for that roll-in there, force that there, and I didn't expect the blood loss to go through. That is called a blunder in the business, ladies and gentlemen. I done goofed uninstalling the game. Can't believe it. Let's catastrophize a little bit more, and I think we'll be fine. But yeah, that was completely 100% on me. I had a winning matchup, even if some of the shenanigans was... the shenanigans was definitely been pulled out on that one with the Bloodhound step and I believe light roll. So, not easy, but at the same time, that's still a massive skill issue. And speaking of massive skill issues, we see 2 in a row. What is it? Is this EU mental on display? Hate to see it. Going for some flaming strikes here. Trying to keep up a little bit of pressure. In hindsight now, looking back at it, again, I'm not comfy with the lat. He's just going to keep pressuring me, and I try to space that. See that recovery there. I go for a hit and manage to roll out afterwards as well. That's what I should have been leveraging. Speaking of skill issue, what am I doing? Oh no, what am I doing? Oh, it's like watching a train crash in slow motion. It's horrible. I was full sure I'd be able to get that interrupt there. You see, I'm terrified now. I don't want to go in for that punish again. I roll out, trying to reaction roll in my geriatric reactions. You hate to see it. Goes for crouch from Kilo, and I walk into... was it Kaim? I think it was Kaim who said something along the lines of, Enda, I don't understand. Sometimes you make absolutely perfect plays, and I think, man, you're really good. And then the next second, it's like your brain falls out your ear. Thanks, Kaim, for your words of wisdom there. And now we have some very low poise, which of course TS just crucifies because I can just press with impunity. But they do have a means of stopping me from doing that, which is of course the shield. That parry shield makes me sweat a little bit. I'm trying to change up the timings to make sure that I don't get randomly parried from fucking Kilo is generally speaking a pretty good idea. Keeping up this pressure, he has to roll everything I do. We space that out there. He has absolutely zero options. There's nothing he can do here. And there we go. I haven't fully tested it, actually, on the notion of parrying, because parries are quite annoying. Obviously, jump attacks, you can deal with them. They just can't be parried. Another thing is I don't think the kickflip can be parried. I'm not sure if that's intentional or not. But as far as I'm aware, you don't have the ability to parry the kickflip. I may be wrong. More testing may be required. As soon as I know for sure, I will check out the comments below. I could look it up now, but that would be ruining the flow of the video as you hear the clickety clack. Oh, tried to go for a strafe. He actually did a decent mix there, and I just decided, you know, I'm hungry for damage. Nom 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 nom. Side. Very, very tasty. Keeping up that pressure, and he has to roll. And going for that crouch attack then. Just for that little bit of pressure, do the crouch, force that little bit of a rollout, and then, like a mosquito, nip him. Just zip, zip, zip around the place, and there's very little that they can actually do there. That's the setup against anything that's, again, I said it earlier on, I'll say it again. If it isn't A tier, TS just crucifies it. It's worse than Shamshir now, which is another setup that I need to get a little bit more cozy on. I know I made a video a very long time ago, way back when it was considered to be, at the very least, a decent off-meta setup. Probably like just on the cusp of being like soft meta, I suppose. Very, very fun setup way back in the day because you had loads of options. See that backstab pressure there? That's what I'm going for. And then we actually go for the backstab now that I'm aware. Try to go for that trade there. Nope, but he's having none of it. Keeping those rollouts going. I see the shield come back up again. I see the run attack. I try to go for a strafe. Should have probably not done that. And then keeping up that nice little bit of pressure there. He's forced back. Go for another running attack. Get that. And the Black Flame Tornado comes out. something that has actual recovery. And I punish it then with the Sacred Blade, which is really nice to have that little Sacred Blade in your pocket to punish those long recovery animations that you can punish from Kilo if they do decide to go for them. In more competitive matches, which I will be rocking TS in ladder and stuff like that, so keep your eyes peeled for that. You can punish the flask at the very beginning, depending on the arena, of course. So that is another option. You can just do a little bit of a run-up while they're flasking, and then go for that punish if they decide to go for something other than just the physic. So you do have more counterplay options. Obviously for arena, there is no physic, so who gives a damn? But in more competitive matches, that would be the main idea. And my tally swaps that are taking a literal age. You hate to see it, but he's not pressuring me, so who gives a damn? Tried to go for that whiff punish. I was sure I was just on the cusp. I was maybe a couple of pixels. And there's that... Oh, the kickflip. It's so cool. I love it. I love it. And you can get out of dodge with it as well. I'm just expecting them to kind of go for these roll-ins, so I continue to have a priority. R1 kickflip, R1 or R2 is R1, R2 kickflip. Especially on trades is really nice here as I'm kind of forced back. Messing up my spacing here a little bit. I'm getting overconfident. I have enough health bar that I'm able to get away with it. So it's not quite the end of the world. Go for a running attack there. Try and keep up that little bit of pressure. Go for another little bit. Just the latency is quite bad here again. So I'm not getting those hit confirms that I really would like and force back there. And, you know, the lag. Give it. The lag, take it the way. And I managed to just clip him again. That keep out there, especially when you're low, it's pretty much unpunishable. You have to be really on the ball to try and get those punishes against those standing R1s. And unless I blunder, which it's me, it's a distinct possibility I will. There's this very strong possibility, but there we go. That's the video. Wow, I got ahead of myself. That's crazy. And there's the build. You could probably optimize this a little bit different. I'll probably show my tallies. I believe in my tally layout I actually had a mistake, but I couldn't be arsed recording. I think it's I think I had the shield as opposed to the hammer. Look at me, I'm so excited. It's crazy. Little Lionel's man. And do we show the thing? No, we don't show it. One of the tallies is a little bit ajar, but either way, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this little commentary. Hope it's good. Hope you're all having a good one. Like, subscribe, and all that nonsense, if that's something that you're into. And yeah, I'll see you all in the not too distant future. Maybe tomorrow. We'll see. That's crazy. Oh, and I'll be streaming a TT run today if you're watching the... Or no, it'll be Have You Been Yesterday. Never mind. Rip. Scratch that. You're all cringe. Bye.